Yo, what up, y'all? What up, y'all? Middleman TV back in the building. I'm gonna let this thing marinate. I'm gonna let this thing marinate before I chop it up with y'all. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot to unfold. A lot took place last night, this morning, however you want to slice it. Naoya Inoue became a two-time undisputed this morning, and we got to talk about his next potential opponent, our rankings on the pound for pound, the performance itself against Marlon Tavares, the overall night, and my opinion on everything, and the weaknesses and the strengths that I saw in the fight, and just breaking down everything. So as we know, I'm gonna get started at about the 2 minute mark, see if we marinate, see if we get viewers. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, I hope y'all enjoyed y'all Christmas. I hope y'all enjoyed y'all holidays with y'all family. You know what I'm saying? This is the time of year that you get around your the people that you love. Spend it with them and really enjoy the holidays. So anybody who had a good Merry Christmas, I'm glad, and I hope y'all have an even better New Year's. All right, we're gonna break this down. We're gonna get right to it. Naoya Inoue beat Marlon Tavares last night to become a two-time undisputed champion. Now, you know, to be honest with you, I think before we break down the performance and we break down his future opponent and everything, I just want to first say that I think that Naoya Inoue fans, they really like to overvalue Naoya Inoue's opponent right before he's going to fight him. In exception to Donaire and Stephen Fulton, right? Because, like, everyone knows Stephen Fulton was a great fighter, a good fighter, had a good resume. And I thought a lot of Stephen Fulton before the loss. So everyone knows that's a big marquee name. And then obviously, probably a Hall of Fame fighter, Nonito Donaire. That's a real big name as well. And we can even throw Manny Rodriguez in there. I think Manny Rodriguez is a hell of a boxer, can punch a little, and he's just a good fighter. So that was a really impressive win from Naoya anyway, because he beat him in what, 3 4 rounds. Insane, maybe 2 rounds. But we gonna get to this Marlon Tavares guy. I know he was like what, 31-3, only had been stopped twice going into the fight. Being stopped twice, to have two losses and both of your losses to be by knockout tells me that his chin was a little suspect. So I knew going into the fight that Marlon Tavares had a suspect chin, and that the fight probably wasn't going to go the distance, even though Marlon Tavares' goal was to go to the whole 12. um, Marlon Tavares was the champion, and obviously, Naoya Inoue had to beat him to become a two-time undisputed champion. To me, that's all Marlon Tavares was. Marlon Tavares was a guy who was an underdog against MJ. No one expected him to win that fight. He pulled off a tremendous upset, so it kind of paved the way for Naoya Inoue to get an easy two-time undisputed title. You know what I'm saying? But if we really are breaking things down, Marlon Tavares is not that good of a fighter. I mean, he's a good fighter, but is he a great fighter? Is he a special fighter, Hall of Famer? No, he's just a good fighter that was a belt holder for Naoya Inoue to destroy. That's what it was. And, shout out to Naoya Inoue for making it look easy. To become a two-time undisputed champion in the short amount of time that he did is a hell of an accomplishment, and I can't take that away from him. I'm not a Naoya Inoue fan. I think everyone on my YouTube channel understands and knows that. But I like to keep it real when it comes to Naoya Inoue. You know what I'm saying? And the accomplishment that he did, two-time undisputed in the span of 12 months, is very impressive. Obviously, to me, to this day, obviously to me, to this day, Stephen Fulton is still Naoya Inoue's best win. Um, you know, and he dominated that fight. But I just feel like, let's break down the fight. So from the opening get, I pretty much knew Marlon Tabales had no chance. But I wanted to see if Marlon Tabales could at least get his offense established a little bit, expose the one weakness I do see in Nayu Inoue a lot, which is his defense, and see if he can at least make it competitive, at least make the rounds competitive. And like I said, I gave Marlon Tabales the round. The fights got stopped in the 10th round. He got dropped in the fourth. I had Marlon Tabales winning 2 rounds. I can't remember which round specifically. I'd have to go back and rewatch it. But I gave Marlon Tabales 2 rounds when I first watched it live. I had him winning 2 rounds before the knockout. Um, but let me just say, Marlon Tabales had a real stiff, nice jab that he was throwing, and he was landing it. A lot of Inoue fans, a lot of people aren't giving Tabales the credit of landing a lot of clean shots in the fight. But I saw something different. I saw Tabales landing at will and really get into his spots where he wanted to. The only problem was Nayu Inoue was faster, more athletic, just quicker on his feet. So it seemed like every time Marlon Tabales was getting comfortable into throwing that shot, Inoue was already on his next plan. And I just felt like Inoue was just too fast for that guy. You know what I mean? Like it was just two different levels of fighters at the end of the day. But I thought Marlon Tabales fought real well to not even be on Nayu Inoue's level. Like truly, I really thought he fought well. And he exposed Nayu Inoue. He exposed his defense. And I'm telling you, if Nayu Inoue fights a guy with the same type of athletic ability and speed, with some pop behind his punches, Nayu Inoue is in for a dogfight. Not a guy who's scared of him, not a guy with no power that doesn't make him in fear of and respecting the power, but a guy who he can respect the power of. Marlon Tabales had the power, but he didn't have the speed, nor did he have the footwork, nor did he have much defense. So it was what it was. And he was actually blocking a lot of Inoue shots in the early going, but it is what it is. Nonetheless, was I impressed with Nayu Inoue's win? It wasn't as impressive and as dominating as the Stephen Fulton win in my eyes. When he beat Stephen Fulton, it was a complete shocker for me how dominating he did it. It was in real dominating fashion, and that alone, you know, really shocked the world in my opinion. But the rumors out there are that Nayu Inoue's next opponent, um, they're saying that they're planning on scheduling it for May. Um, and they're saying that his next opponent is going to be the WBC mandatory challenger, which would be Louis Neary. What do we know about Louis Neary? We know that he got caught with drugs in the system before. You know what I'm saying? Drugs cheat. Not fan of drugs cheats at all. We know that he's used Memo Heredia as his strength and conditioning coach. Y'all already know I'm not a fan of Memo Heredia. But I have my suspicions on Nayu Inoue. I got my suspicions on Louis Neary. To me, when you have two cheaters going at it, it makes for a fair fight. Two cheaters. You know what I'm saying? What I love about this fight, particularly if it so happens to happen next, is Louis Neary, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, I think he's banned in fighting in Japan. Therefore, meaning, if he's the mandatory with Nayu Inoue and he's banned in fighting in Japan, that means Nayu Inoue is going to have to find a different fight location for his next fight. Maybe Europe. I know he's fought in like what Scotland before. He fights in Europe. He's fought in the U.S. a couple times. Is he willing to come back to the United States to fight Louis Neary, or is he going to try to pull something out of his sleeves and or try to switch his opponent last minute? We're going to find out. Like all the political stuff will come to light sooner than later. But let's talk about the potential opponent, Louis Neary. We know Louis Neary has a lot of power. I think he's a very solid boxer, and I give him a puncher's chance against Nayu Inoue, man. I mean, I've seen Louis Neary fight, and he's got a lot of dog in him. I thought Fulton had a lot of dog in him when we saw that Omar Figueroa fight, but it turned out Fulton, I think, was more so chasing the bag than the legacy because he just didn't perform like he really cared about the legacy at all to me. Um, I think we're going to see a hungrier and a more willing to win Louis Neary than what we saw from Stephen Fulton and Marlon Tapales. So I think this is actually a worthy opponent. Actually, I'm actually going to give Nayu Inoue credit if he ends up going through with the Louis Neary fight. I really would. And I would actually give Luis Nery a very solid chance on winning that fight, but he's going to have to come with a good game plan, and we'll see what happens with that. Um, all over the media, ESPN, Ringside, and Michael Benson and Mike Coppinger, they keep asking who the pound for pound king is. Everywhere you look, anywhere you turn to for boxing information, it's all about Naoya Inoue being the pound for pound king and having a picture next to him and Bud Crawford. And I just think we have to really break down the difference between Bud Crawford being a two-time undisputed champion and Naoya Inoue being a two-time undisputed champion. Number one, we all know Terrence Crawford's in a much tougher and a much more worthy name division. You know what I'm saying? That's number one. 135, 140, 147. 147 is a solid division, probably one of the better ones in boxing right now. And to me, the 122-pound division just doesn't have the names to really compare to the 147-pound division. Now we can really break down everything. To me, Naoya Inoue, his best win of his career, Stephen Fulton. Obviously, he beat Nonito Donaire, but Donaire was over the hill. I would have liked to see him fight Donaire like 12 years ago, not 10 years ago, 8 years ago, not 3 years ago when Donaire was 38 years old. Not impressed really by that. And you got to look at the difference in opponents. Naoya Inoue beat Stephen Fulton and then beat Marlon Tabales to become two-time undisputed champion. To me, Terrence Crawford being arguably a Hall of Fame fighter in Errol Spence Jr. Now, a lot of people are going to be in the comment section later and try to bash me and say that I'm crazy for saying that Errol Spence is a Hall of Fame fighter. And I get it. His resume, you look at the names, Kell Brooks, Sean Porter, Denny Garcia, Ugas, it doesn't really ring Hall of Fame worthy necessarily by first glance. But if you look at the way Errol Spence dominated his division for as long as he did, and knowing how he was on the pound for pound list as long as he was, I think that you could have a real strong argument for Errol Spence being in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he had a real dominating career up until Bud Crawford. Um, the thing about it for me is with the Naoya Inoue Stephen Fulton fight, I was cheering for Stephen Fulton heavily. And in the back of my mind, I did think he had a chance to win. But I think most of the people in the world, 90% of the world knew, not thought, knew that Naoya Inoue was going to win and that Stephen Fulton virtually had no chance to actually beat Naoya Inoue out in Japan. However, with the Terrence Crawford versus Earl Spence fight, it was a much different turn of events, much different narrate. Going into the fight, I remember when the fight first got officially announced. I think it was like in May, going into the summer, or it might have been in June, but I think it was in May. And I remember me asking all my friends as soon as it got announced, man, like, who y'all got? Y'all got Terrence Crawford? Y'all got Earl Spence? And I kid you not, all my friends said Earl Spence was too big. He's a lot younger. He's gonna walk Terrence Crawford down. Crawford's not gonna be able to handle the much naturally bigger guy. And I listened to it, took it with a grain of salt. I always had Bud winning the fight. I never changed my opinion. No one ever convinced me to change my opinion because I know how great Bud is. Um, and then, going into the fight, I remember telling people, like, I think Bud's going to do it to him, man. I think Bud has more tricks up his sleeve. I think he's a better overall boxer. I think he's more athletic. I think Spence is going to really learn the hard way. No one listened to me. No one listened to me. Everyone was saying Spence was going to win. Spence is going to win. And then on fight night, when Terrence Crawford absolutely put a massacre dominating performance and slaughtered Earl Spence, literally from the opening bells, from round two on, and then ended up stopping him, right? That was the most dominating performance from a guy in the top five beating another guy in the top five. Like you don't see that too often. Usually when you get two superstars in their prime fighting each other, you get a mega fight or you get some type of, a real good fight. It was only good from Terrence Crawford's perspective. Earl Spence got the shit kicked out of him. I don't think he'll ever be the same again. I think the man has permanent brain damage. People are asking me, like, yo, why doesn't Crawford want to fight Jerron Boots Ennis? Why doesn't Crawford want to fight Jerron Boots Ennis? Um, You guys know he signed a contract to fight Errol Spence in a rematch. He has to wait for Errol Spence to recover. That could take over a year. So I don't know if Terrence Crawford's allowed to take a tune-up fight in the meantime. I don't know what the contract is stipulating, but we're gonna have to see, man. Hopefully Earl backs out of the rematch so that Crawford can continue with his career. Because I hate the non-activity, not being active for a long time. I hate that with boxers. So, and I don't think Earl Spence really wants to fight Terrence Crawford again. If we're being honest, let's be real. But that being said, Naoya Inoue had a great 2023. Terrence Crawford had a great 2023. But to me, Terrence Crawford dominating Earl Spence, a top 5 pound for pound fighter before the loss, is a much more marquee win and a higher valued win and a better 2023 than Naoya Inoue beating a no name in Marlon Tapales, who was a belt holder, and Stephen Fulton, who really let us all down. To me, that's a good 2023. It's not the best 2023. We have to get a grip on that. Terrence Crawford had a better 2023 than Naoya Inoue. I don't want to say this, but David Benavidez had a better 2023. Beat Boo Andre and beat Caleb Plant. Devin Haney, who beat Lomachenko, beat Regis Prograis. He definitely had a better 2023 than Naoya Inoue. So off the top of my head, I can think of 3 fighters who absolutely had a better year than Naoya Inoue. No question about it. But Naoya Inoue still had a good year. I would probably put him fourth, right ahead of Gervonta Davis for most successful year in 2023. He had a real good year, man. He did have a good year, Naoya Inoue. There's just 3 fighters that had better years, and there's no shame in that. What I have a serious problem with is seeing all these ESPN ringside Michael Coppinger and Michael Benson all reporting that Naoya Inoue should be mentioned in the pound for pound #1 right now. Like, that's insane. That's insane. Like, when you look at his resume, right? Me being the boxing fan that I am, me being the non-casual, I know 6 or 7 guys on his boxing resume. But if I go call my friend up tomorrow and say, "Yo, bro, you seen that fight by Naoya Inoue last night?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I'm like, "Bro, can you name 6 fighters that he fought? 5 fighters, maybe 4 fighters?" Bro, they can't. Most of my friends can only name one, and that's Stephen Fulton. I'm being honest. Like, a lot of people don't even know Nonito Donaire. Now, granted, if you're a real boxing fan, you know Nonito Donaire, you know Stephen Fulton. I'm telling you, people don't know Manny Rodriguez. People don't know Jason Maloney. People don't know Jamie McDonald. People don't know Paul Butler. Those are names that no one knows. I'm trying to tell y'all, Marlon Tabales. No one knew him before the fight. I didn't even know Marlon Tabales until after he beat Fulton. They started bringing up Marlon Tabales that soon because they're so hyped to get Naoya Inoue these titles. You know what I'm saying? So it's very political. Um, and then to top it off, not just the political aspect, but also the scandals, the complaining about having 2 VADA tests a week. Complaining about it instead of just being a true champion and just taking it is ridiculous. That's suspicious. You know, Stephen Fulton taking a picture of the reopened uh, package of gloves that looked like they had been tampered with. We're not making any excuses, but clearly that's suspicious. So there's a lot about Naoya Inoue to be determined and questioned. I need to see him fight in the United States. He did fight in the United States in 2021 against some guy that wasn't that good. But let's be real, man. He's got to fight someone who's really good in the United States for me to be impressed. Naoya Inoue is a tremendous fighter. That's why I have high expectations for the guy. And so should his fans. The problem with boxing fans like Tank fans and Naoya Inoue fans is they form cults for their favorite fighter. Tank Davis has a cult. Naoya Inoue has a cult. And these fans, they build a cult and they convince themselves that no matter what is the mega fight, no matter what the fans want to see, that if that's their favorite fighter, they're going to just give their fighter the utmost amount of credit and say that he doesn't need to fight anybody. He's doing just fine. Like, I literally got in an argument with Naoya Inoue fans, and they're literally trying to sit up here and break down the fact that Marlon Tapales and Jamie McDonald and Paul Butler, those are great wins. Like, in the same breath, like when we talk about Crawford and Naoya Inoue, right? How can you say that Marlon Tapales or a Jamie McDonald is a good win, but in the same breath, you will knock Terrence Crawford beating a Kell Brook because you think he was old or over the hill, or you'll knock him beating Jeff Horner or Kavayakis? I get it. Kavayakis doesn't have a huge name, right? But correct me if I'm wrong. Kavayakis has two losses. He had one loss going into the Terrence Crawford fight. He lost to Terrence Crawford and he lost to Virgil Ortiz, two really good fighters in this era. So I don't see the shame in that. I think Kavayakis is a real good fighter. You know what I mean? So if you look at Naoya Inoue's resume, man, I'm telling you, like Paul Butler lost to some scrubs. He lost to literally journeyman with losing records, 500 records. Jamie McDonald lost to a 12 and 16 guy, and these guys are being mentioned as worthy names that Naoya Inoue beat. That should tell you something. When I think of Terrence Crawford, like whether you want to say that the guys he fought weren't the same at the time or they were over the hill, they had just taken a beating. It is what it is. You fight who's in front of you and you show off. I don't care if Kell Brook was over the hill. I don't care if Kell Brook wasn't over the hill. Kell Brook was a hell of a fighter, and Terrence Crawford manhandled him. Amir Khan was a tremendous boxer. Didn't have a chin, never did, never will, but he was a good boxer. Terrence Crawford manhandled him. Was Jeff Horn great? Not in my eyes, but he was a good fighter. You can't name Jamie McDonald, but then in the same breath say that Jeff Horn sucks. To me, Jeff Horn is just as good as Jamie McDonald or a Paul Butler. So give or take there, you know what I'm saying? Like Terrence Crawford actually has a very solid resume. Gamboa, Kaviyakis, Evanesian's not that good, but that was an okay win. Beat Sean Porter. To me, beating Sean Porter, I don't give a damn what people say about that win. Beating Sean Porter is a hell of a win. Sean Porter was one notch below elite. Like, let's be honest, bro. Like, he beat everybody that stepped in his way except for Terrence Crawford or Earl Spence. And those two were elite at the time. We all know that. So there's no shame in that. Um, and yeah, Terrence Crawford just has a very underrated resume, if you ask me. A lot of people say Julian Indagno is a bum. How can people say that Julian Indagno is a bum, but in the same breath try to tell me that Jason Maloney is a superstar? That's insanity. Trust me, outside of me and a couple other boxing fans out there, no one knows who Jason Maloney is. So these are the facts. I come on here on YouTube to tell the facts. I don't come on here to cap. And the truth is that there's a hype train that this cult of Naoya Inoue fans are running on. That he's got the best resume in boxing, which is a lie. That's all cap. To say he has the best resume in boxing is cap. That's not a fact. That's a cap. They say that, he had the most impressive 2023. He's the fighter of the year, and he's the best fighter pound for pound right now. How can you be the best fighter pound for pound right now when 95% of people out here don't know anyone you fought? It just can't happen. And then I keep hearing people say like, oh, well, why should Naoya Inoue come fight in the United States or Europe? He sells out in Japan. He does sell out in Japan. That's awesome. You know what I mean? But we have to be honest here. If the money's there in the United States, what's the problem? If Tank offered him a fight right now for $20 million, would Naoya Inoue turn that down because he feels like Tank would knock him out? Like, I don't know. These are all things we got to put into factors. But to me, I want to see Naoya Inoue continue to chase greatness. But as he already announced, as I expected, he pretty much let the public know that he doesn't plan on moving up from 122 anytime soon. So he's probably going to defend his undisputed belts at 122 for at least a year or two. Probably by the time he's 32, I could see him moving up to 126 maybe and trying to become a five, try to be undisputed in 126. But I can't see him moving up to 130, 135. I think 126 would be his limit. And that's just how I see it. That's how the cookie crumbles, man. I know a lot of y'all are asleep right now. Y'all still enjoying y'all holidays with y'all family. Whenever y'all come tune in, make sure y'all hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. You know what I'm saying? Feedback is always wanted. See. Support the channel. You know what I'm saying? This is my Cash App. Support the channel, y'all. I'm trying to work on building this channel to the point where everything is laid out how I want it. So I got a great format. I want to get a better lighting. I want to get a better microphone eventually. So I'm trying to set everything up to make this show better for y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go live a lot more often. I want to try to go live at least once a day. But, I work, so it's not real easy. But all in all, though, good performance from Naoya Inoue. Wasn't a dominating performance like how Stephen Fulton was, but nonetheless, two-time undisputed in under 12 months. Hell of an accomplishment, you know. Naoya Inoue is on his way to doing great things. We just got to see more. Those people who aren't in his cult, like me, who are just keep it neutral, want to see more from Naoya Inoue, man. Um, I'm gonna get up out of here, y'all. You know what I'm saying? We ain't got no viewers right now. Y'all all must be asleep, letting it marinate. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna holler at y'all tomorrow. I'm gonna be dropping a video sometime probably in the afternoon tomorrow. So y'all stay tuned for that one. And yeah, man. On Middleman TV, we chop it up about any topic of boxing, anytime, any day, any place. All right, y'all. Stay tuned. Peace.